What if the baby sleeps too much? Will I miss her hunger cues, or will that interfere with breastfeeding?
Do you really, would you have that concern? Does that seem like a reasonable concern? Or?
No, I wouldn't. my baby is not missing a meal.
Just wondering. Does anyone have that concern? Do you?
Well, not for breastfeeding, obviously not a huge issue for me, but I do have the question of if the SNOO is encouraging babies to sleep longer, and you hear of 2-month stretches or 2-hour stretches to 4-hour stretches, 6, 7. Is there any concerns that you're cutting away from time that the baby maybe should be feeding because it's sleeping so well?
Yeah, really great question, because we do not want babies sleeping so much that they're not eating. So when we tested hundreds and hundreds of babies with SNOO before we brought it to the marketplace, we would always test them first hungry. Will SNOO put them to sleep when they're hungry? And then we feed them, and then we see how they respond. And what we've seen over and over and over again is hungry babies cannot be calmed with shushing and rocking. Mildly hungry babies, maybe. And that's good, because if your baby's a little hungry, let them sleep at night, right? I mean, you don't need to get every little minor hunger cue. They're moving their mouths a little bit. You don't need to know that at 3 in the morning. Feed them every hour during the day if you want. But at nighttime, you don't really want them waking up with those little sleep cues. So what we find is that in the first week or two, the most important thing is establishing the feeding. And so you want the babies to be fed really no longer than 4 hours at night. 3 to 4 hours is the maximum stretch you want your baby going at night. And if your baby's sleeping longer than that, you do want to wake your baby up and feed them. Once the nursing is going well, then if they go 4 hours, even 5 hours in that first month or so, what happens is they feed more during the day. And that gives them enough feedings. Hey, I'll tell you something really interesting and unusual. What's the number of times a baby's supposed to nurse during the day? The answer most people will tell you is like 10 to 12 times a day in the beginning. If you look at people in other cultures, like in African tribes, they're nursing their babies 50 to 100 times a day. That is really what human beings, babies, are expecting. I'm not saying you should do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating that. But what I'm saying is that babies are very flexible and adaptable. And I don't want them sleeping 8 hours at night in the beginning. But getting a 4-hour stretch is not only good for the baby, but it's good for the breastfeeding. Because when you're tired, number one, you don't make as much milk. Number two, your immunity goes down. It's easier to get mastitis or cracked nipples or things like that. And so actually it helps the baby and it helps the mother to get the breastfeeding going well if you can get just a little bit more rest at night. It doesn't happen overnight that a baby starts sleeping, 7 or 8 hours. It really happens over weeks and weeks. And during that period, the breast, if you're breastfeeding, the breast will adapt. And what's amazing is they make more milk during the day and less milk at night. So the breasts actually start to know day and night. So you don't have to worry about your baby sleeping too much. If your baby is able to go, once they're 3 months old, they're going 8 or 9 hours. That's fantastic. And you don't have to wake your baby up unless what you find is that your baby is going to sleep at 8 in the evening and waking up at 3 in the morning. In which case, what you might do is wake your baby up at 11 or 12 for what we call a dream feed, to kind of top off the tank with a little extra milk so that you get that long stretch when you want to sleep between 11 o'clock and 6 in the morning.